We're initiating a forensic harmonic audit. Forget the pervasive amateur mythology infesting online guitar tutorials right now. This endless, lazy discussion about the so-called mojo or mystical touch behind Billy Gibbons' tone, it's a profound failure of basic physics education. Let's be clear, there's absolutely no magic in the Texas Squeal. It's a quantifiable, mechanical process governed entirely by acoustic geometry and electrical engineering.
What the internet reductively labels the secret thumb trick is not an artistic feeling. It's a deterministic mechanical extension of your instrument's electrical circuit. You are physically injecting a complex mathematical anomaly into a magnetic field. Treating it like some vague, intuitive gesture is exactly why your results are inconsistent and, frankly, amateurish.
And this brings us to the core technical conflict of modern signal processing. You've probably observed a highly disturbing phenomenon. You plug into a cheap, archaic analog distortion pedal, and a pinch harmonic sustains indefinitely. But execute that exact same physical technique into a premium digital modeler, a Helix, a Quad Cortex, an Axe FX, and the harmonic frequently chokes. It decays instantly into digital dead silence. To understand why your expensive processor is failing you, we first have to deconstruct the physical geometry of your string attack.
The slip-stick friction mechanics of this technique are highly specific. Gibbons uses a Mexican peso as a plectrum, and no, that's not for aesthetics. It's a strict issue of mass and friction. A coin provides a jagged edge and vastly superior mass compared to your standard polymer pick. When you drive that against ultralight .007 gauge strings, it generates an aggressive, high-amplitude transient displacement. The string doesn't just vibrate, it's violently displaced in a vertical axis relative to the pickup magnet.
But having mass alone is entirely insufficient if your geometry is wrong. The attack angle must be precisely 45 degrees relative to the string's longitudinal axis. If the angle is too flat, the string just slides off. But hit it at exactly 45 degrees with the rough edge of that coin, and you maximize the stochastic slipstick motion. This exact angle dictates the violent initial transient displacement long before your thumb ever makes contact with the string. You're effectively priming the physical system for an overtone overload.
Once that transient is initiated, the physical thumb strike has to occur at a calculated millimeter marker. This is called node suppression. A vibrating string contains the fundamental frequency along with multiple higher-order overtones. Brushing the string with your thumb isn't some random sloppy mute. It's a highly calculated mechanical filter. You're applying physical mass to a precise node, an exact integer division of the string's length, to mathematically cancel or dampen the fundamental frequency.
By suppressing the fundamental at these highly specific node points, you isolate the vibration entirely. The energy of the plucked string literally has nowhere else to go but into the high-order overtones. If you strike the node accurately, the fundamental ceases immediately. That leaves only this high-frequency, incredibly complex overtone vibrating along the length of the string. That is the isolated mechanical signal we refer to as a pinch harmonic.
We've established the acoustic geometry. Now we must shift this forensic audit into the electrical domain. We need to talk about signal saturation and impedance matching. Because this is exactly where most modern players critically misunderstand their circuitry, which leads directly to the digital choking effect we discussed earlier. It is time for a complete paradigm reversal regarding your pickup selection.
When we map guitar harmonics using Fourier transform data, it ruthlessly dismantles a common, deeply flawed assumption: the myth that high-output humbuckers like active pickups or modern overwound coils are required to generate larger, more sustained pinch harmonics. Look, high-output pickups certainly generate more voltage, but they fundamentally alter the dynamic ratio between the initial pick attack and the harmonic decay. They completely destroy the balance.
What actually occurs with a high-output pickup is a compression choke. The massive initial transient from that metal pick attack hits the digital converter, or the front end of your modeler, way too hard. Because the pickup is already sending a compressed, high-voltage signal, the dynamic range of the transient is utterly obliterated. Your amplifier block can't differentiate the harmonic from the fundamental noise floor. The signal simply topples over. It hits the digital ceiling and decays instantly, because there's simply no dynamic headroom left for the harmonic to bloom.
Now contrast that catastrophic failure with Gibbons' actual calculated deployment. He utilizes exceptionally low output vintage humbuckers, specifically tracking the EQ curves of his Pearly Gates profiles. He then pairs this low-voltage acoustic signal with aggressive nonlinear front-end preamp compression. A low-output pickup preserves the massive dynamic range of the .007 string and the coin attack. The nonlinear gain stage then catches that completely intact transient and scales the harmonic amplitude upwards without prematurely clipping the attack at the input stage.
Comparing a linear driver response to a nonlinear, tube-driven response reveals the missing link. By hitting a nonlinear amplifier stage with a low-output, highly dynamic transient, you generate immense secondary harmonics. You're effectively creating distortion of distortion. This simulates true analog tube sag. The power supply of the analog circuit physically struggles to process the transient, compressing it naturally while amplifying the trailing, higher-order overtones. Premium digital environments fail here precisely because they process the clip signal far too cleanly. They lack the physical power supply sag that artificially extends the harmonics lifecycle.
To bypass the limitations of your digital modeler, you must manually program it to replicate these physics. I will now provide the gain scaling blueprint. You are no longer merely playing an instrument, you are calibrating a signal processor. Execute these parameters precisely if you actually wish to recover your lost harmonics.
Step 1. You must inject a dynamic mid-frequency boost at exactly 3 kHz prior to your digital amplifier block. This mimics the resonant peak of vintage single coils and low-output humbuckers, forcing the digital algorithm to focus its processing power on the exact frequency band where the pinch harmonic resides. Step 2. Manually drop the input impedance on your modeler's global settings. This physically loads the guitar's pickups, rolling off the harsh digital high-end frequencies and forcing an analog-style saturation that compresses the fundamental while allowing that 3 kHz harmonic overtone to sustain.
Your digital hardware is now calibrated. The final variable is your physical execution. Memorize the physical node maps for your instrument. These nodes are fixed mathematical realities based on your instrument's scale length. Stop guessing. Calculate the integer divisions of your string length from the bridge to the fretted note, and map the precise millimeter strake markers for your picking hand. If you miss the node by even 2 millimeters, you fail to suppress the fundamental and you fail the harmonic. Study the map. Program your muscle memory to the absolute millimeter.
We have concluded the audit. There is no mojo. There is no magic in the fingers. There is only geometry, impedance, and calculated nonlinear gain. Eradicate the mystical nonsense from your methodology immediately. Go to your digital modelers tonight, strip out the excessive high output gain stages, and manually clean up your signal path based on the physics we've outlined. Do not rely on luck. Do not rely on artistic feeling. Rely entirely on the data. Because if your tone still lacks life after you've calibrated these harmonics, you must ask yourself, what other amateur myths are quietly choking the rest of your signal chain?